What is up? Hello.
Hello.
We're doing a panel. It's about podcasts. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Theology. You may have seen me last night. I did a DJ thing. I pushed some buttons. It was super fun. Threw down some bass. And with me, I have...
I'm Mark. I do podcasting. Some of you may have seen me in VR chat last night. I had a blast. Thank you to everyone who guided me around there. I actually watched Theology's set, and it was really, really good.
Love that. Thank you. Today we're going to be talking about how we do our podcasts, and I'm super excited about it because my podcast means a lot to me. I'm sure yours does to you as well, Mark. But first of all, so we're using a lot of weird technology right now to make this happen. Does our audio sound okay? If it doesn't at any point in the chat, just let us know, and we'll do things to finagle and fix that. But Mark, let's start this off. What is your podcast called? What's it about?
Okay, so my podcast is called Super Gamer Podcast, and I feel like every time I bring that up, I need to explain, because gamer, many of us, all of us, are gamers in a sense, but there's a lot of baggage with that term.
Yes.
So I always tell people, well, it's actually an ode to the Super Nintendo, because I love the Super Nintendo.
Who doesn't? Come on.
If I'll try and do this quick because it's a bit of a backstory, but it started literally almost 10 years ago in school. It was like a project for school. I did it on and off for a while. I wasn't as committed as I wanted to be, and then 2.5 years ago, PAX East 2020, I was like, I'm gonna start it up again, and I'm gonna do it for real. So I've done it every week since then. It's the idea. It's an interview show, and it's not actually exclusively. It's not exclusively.
Now you know who he is.
It's not exclusively musical like VGM, but I have a lot of VGM guests because I really like VGM. I'll run down a list here. I've had these are VGM artists and people adjacent to VGM. I've interviewed Naoki, David Housden, Brenna Wilkes, Geek Swag, Harpsiboard, Chips and Cellos, Rob Kovacs, Mon, Quiet, Moo Man, Dan Bergman, Theology, Lacey Johnson, Musical Daredevil, Doug Perry, Nudge, Tommy Tallarico, and Laura Intravia 3 times, actually. She was my first ever guest, my first ever repeat guest, and the only ever third guest, so...
Nice.
Anyway...
You really like her or something, huh?
I think she does good work. How about you? What is your podcast, and what's it all about?
So first I want to say it's funny because I've only had one guest on my podcast thus far, and I'm in a weird situation of like transition in life right now, so I'm not going to put out an episode this month. I'm going to put out one next month, but it's the same guest. It's the Icarus kid, who you may have heard of. I don't know, but he's a dope dude. So anyways, I understand that whole repeat guest thing. So my podcast is called the Music and Mental Health Podcast. I started it because, well, I've gone through several iterations of podcast, and I realized one day as I was brainstorming things I wanted to do with my music that mental health is it's a very interesting subject that I feel like not a lot of people discuss in the way that it should be. There's not really like a transparency there. Most of the time we keep to ourselves and we're not really open about it. And so I wanted to be one voice in the world who talks about mental health topics. So what I do in my podcast is I have an hour DJ mix of EDM. It's not always VGM either, because I come from the trance and progressive scene. Closest sounds would be like Anjuna Beats or Armada Music, Above and Beyond, Armin van Buuren, that type of sound, which I really love. But I do mostly VGM now, right? So it's kind of a mix of the two. And then at the end of the session, so again, it's like 45 minutes to an hour of music, we do a discussion, me and my friend Nathan, who used to be my life coach, who said he wanted to somehow go into business with me, but that's loosely defined. And he has a lot of experience, a really cool outlook on life. So we pick a mental health topic to discuss at the end, and we kind of just see where it goes. So yeah, that's what my podcast is about, and it's, goodness, so fulfilling. I feel like, I don't know, especially in the EDM scene, there's been a lot of big DJs who have like, killed themselves, and it's not been really, it's just been sad, right? And I was like, man, I want to like be one voice that like talks about this kind of stuff to like, if I can help one person, then it's worth it. So yeah, that's what my podcast is about. So yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Well, obviously we're here to give our 2 cents on like how to podcast and how to effectively podcast. So right. Now that we've introduced ourselves, you mentioned voice there, and a big thing I think is finding your voice, finding why you're podcasting and why people should listen. So how did you kind of get, because I know you had like a different iteration of the podcast, like the mental health thing wasn't always in it. So
right.
What did you do to kind of find, was there any like growing pain of like, oh, I don't like how I'm doing this in the podcast, I do like how I'm doing that?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I don't know, my podcast has always been just music focused before in the past, right? Like I would do voiceovers like, oh, this was this track by so-and-so, and it's really cool, enjoy. And then I would just not talk anymore. But I felt like, is the music just like, yes, the music does speak for itself, but like, is there any way I can use my art to like actually impact people? And I know music does that, right? Of course it does. Like I can attribute certain songs that have saved my life, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to use my art for some kind of good. And yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I don't know. There were a lot of moving pieces, but that's sort of how I came to the conclusion that I should do something of the sort. And then Nathan came along and was like, oh yeah, we could, do this perhaps. And so kind of a collaborative effort, but yeah, that's sort of how it was done. What about you, man?
So like I said, I started it in school 9 or 10 years ago. And when I first started it, I kind of it was always an interview thing because I was in journalism school. And when I started it, though, I sandwiched the interviews with like just me talking about games. And I think rightfully, over time, I nixed that. Like one of the things I want to get across here is like people getting into podcasting, like try things. Don't be afraid to be bad.
Totally.
Sometimes it's like how you get good at anything. And yeah, I listening back and just thinking like, well, who am I? What? I have nothing to say other than like, I liked this game. Like Journey was fun. So I just nixed that part. And I think the podcast has been a lot cleaner since then and a lot more, there's more reason to listen to it. Which I think brings to another thing. Depending on what you want to do podcasting, like if you just want to talk with buddies or yourself or whatever and just put it out into the ether, totally cool. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? But exactly, why not?
Admittedly, like I'm trying to make a podcast that hopefully people want to listen to, and I guess as far as trying things, seeing what works, like I think you need to be able to answer the question, why should someone listen to this? Which that's how I got to the point where I was like, nobody wants to listen to me. I got nothing. I'm not really part of the industry. I'm just some schmuck.
But you're great, and we love you. It's
fine. You. But that's why that's why I interview people that I find interesting. Because I'm like, well, if I find them interesting, hopefully other people find them interesting.
Totally. Honestly, Mark, that has a lot to do with why I shifted mine into doing a mental health thing. Because I was like, why does anyone want to listen to my podcast when they could just listen to like the big boys in the scene? They could just listen to Group Therapy with Above and Beyond or this other podcast, by one of the gatekeepers, so to speak. Why do they want to listen to mine? Who cares? But now that I have the VGM angle and the mental health angle, I feel like there is some sort of like unique perceived value there. And so, yeah, I totally vibe with that. Yeah, I guess to kind of move things along, like how do you, what kind of technology do you use to create yours? Like start to finish, kind of give me a rundown of what you do, and then I might do the same. We'll see.
Sure. So start to finish, I have this is not new at this point, but newish, I guess, a couple of years old. It's my Yeti.
Nice.
Which is nice. I don't think I put enough effort into sound quality that I should. Sound quality is a huge deal. In particular, I'm gonna show my Audacity here. So Audacity is what I use for editing, and I've got it set up here. There are some things that it took me a while to get to this point because I'm not confrontational, and even to the point where, like, if someone was too quiet, I just, like, wouldn't bring it up, and then you get to the end and it's like, well, this is not salvageable. Like, you kind of need to record it at least relatively good, because you can't edit everything out. I'll play a bit here to see if you can even hear this. Hello, VGM community. This is too quiet.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just too quiet, and, like, you can boost it up, but you're just gonna hear this, like, in the background the whole time. And there's too loud, which is unsalvageable, because then it's just clipping the whole time. Something to remember, if you're really getting into the nitty gritty here, your P sounds, that's probably coming through pretty good.
P's and buzz. Yeah, exactly.
Those are things you want to watch out for, because someone's listening to you for, who knows, half an hour, whatever. That gets annoying. Yeah. And anyway, the two best friends for me are Compressor, which will, if you can see this one on the end here, there's too quiet and too loud there. You go to Compressor, you mess with it a bit. A good starting ratio is 6-1 there. Boom. And then I would amplify that. Like, now it's just kind of level a bit. It's too quiet at this point, obviously, but then you hit amplify. Hey, it's better. I would probably mess around until it's actually good.
Right.
But that definitely, I mean, as far as, like, my equipment to what I do, like, it's mostly just Audacity. I record the interview. I try not to edit much out. I like the conversation thing. I like the ums and ahs and whatnot. There are obviously some things that, if it's just, like, 20 seconds of dead air, I'll probably get rid of that.
Yeah.
That being said,
some stuff out.
I don't think people should be afraid of dead air in an interview format anyway. Like, sometimes that adds a real gravitas.
Agreed.
So
I do that all the time in my podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically the extent of my software and technology. I imagine you have a lot more going on. Tell us about yours.
A little, yeah.
I'll go to Logic here.
I like how you fix the P's and the B's, honestly, a lot. Like, I might start with that. I usually listen to my recordings and then I, like, re-record what I need to. But, okay, so this is what I do. So first, I record a DJ mix. That requires using Tractor. This is my DJ software. This is what I used in my performance last night. So, of course, I have like hardware that I use. I actually record all of my DJ mixes live. I have never created one in Ableton, which I know a lot of podcasting DJs do. So yeah, I record the mix first off, which DJing is a whole nother panel and I don't have time to go into that, but I record my mix. Then I go to Pixabay, because so my podcast is not just audio. I make a video version that I also put on YouTube. So I go to this website called pixabay.com where you can literally search for anything. Let's type in love. And it's not loading. That's cool. But I promise you, if you go to this page, here, let's, what other leaves? Is anything loading? Yeah, nothing's loading. It's fine. We have weird technology going on right now. I promise you, though, if you go to that website, you will find pictures that are royalty free that you can just download. You just sign in with a Facebook account. It's great. So I put those in. I make my track list. Then I do voiceovers in this program called Logic. Logic is basically Apple's pro version of GarageBand. And I use it to literally just do my audio. Like, hey, this track is coming up. It is, Player 2's Floral Fury remix. It's great. Thank you, AJ, for this one. Enjoy, guys. So I record all of those in here. Then I bring all of the files into this program called DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve, it's a pro video editing program that's free. It's completely free. And I'm kind of a sucker for free things. So that's why I use this, and I don't have like Adobe After Effects or anything fancier. I literally drag all of my media, all of my pictures, my audio of the mix that I recorded, and the video conversation that I have with Nate or whatever guests were interviewing at that time. I do that on a Zoom call. And so I bring all of that in here and then I edit it. It probably would have been more effective if I had like a session open where I showed you what an actual episode looks like. But that, I guess, is beside the point. It is basically, honestly, at the end of the day, kind of just me making a slideshow and then putting music to it, adding titles to it. I could definitely go more in depth, but I feel like that would be more of, I guess, like I hate to say this, but a masterclass level type, like in depth, like, oh yeah, this is exactly how I do this process and whatever. But yeah, that is sort of my process. And then I export a clip to video, and that's what I upload on YouTube. I export a clip to audio. That is what I put on anchor.fm, which is here. Let me go there. Oops, sorry. Okay. Anchor.fm. This is the website that I go to upload my podcast to Spotify. And literally it's free to sign up. Honestly, really seamless, really easy. I didn't expect it to be as easy as it was, but this is where I go to your podcast onto Spotify. Is that what you use as well?
No, but that does bring me to marketing. I use FeedBurner, which actually I believe has changed. I think it's run through Google, and I think it's a different thing now, but I'm like from way back. Anyway, it's an RSS feed, which, yeah, I recommend if you're trying to get your podcast out there, get an RSS feed. Get it on Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, Podbean. There are so many different ones, and some of them like will just crawl the internet and you'll be there anyway. Which, hey, great. But right. Yeah, go out and try to get your podcast everywhere it can be. Get reviews if you can. I can tell you, Google, in particular, if you have a business. I don't know if you consider your podcast a business, but its algorithm as far as
it's all kind of
yeah. It's algorithm. Sorry, here let me go back to just you and I up here. Its algorithm as far as like your organic search ranking is really, a lot of it is reviews. It wants to know that you're a real thing. So the more and better reviews you can get, and social media.
No, I suppose that's true. Yeah. And honestly, Mark, like I'm even learning because I didn't even know about FeedBurner, and I feel like I'm horrendous at marketing. So might hit you up. That sounds like a good idea. But yeah, Google reviews, that's something I've never even thought of. So like, good on you, man. Good on you, man. I love that.
Are there people hearing an echo at this point? I am hearing quite an echo. Yeah.
Are you?
Oh.
Let's see. I don't hear an echo. Oh, I have some echo on my audio. So it's funny because I didn't change any settings, so I don't know why that would be a thing. But
you know what? You sound better again.
Oh, the Rocks learned how to do math. Okay. Great, cool, dope. Does the chat agree that I sound better? Unless, are you listening to like an actual feed of it? We love audio doing whatever it wants. Yeah, Songs of Healing. Yeah, we certainly
that
do.
echo is, there's an ebb and flow going on here.
Just sounded like an unmuted onboard mic or something. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway.
If it gets bad again, let us know. But anyways, where were we? Sorry.
We were talking about marketing and getting your podcast out there, and again, I think this comes down to what you're looking to do. Like, my podcast costs me money. It does not make me any money. I've never tried to monetize it. I don't think that would be smart at this point anyway. But certainly, domain name, the very rare advertising is if I ever do decide
right.
to.
Yeah.
Hosting and blah, blah, blah. But social media is a big one for me. Word of mouth is a big one for me. I like to think I treat my guests with respect, which
You do.
we'll get
Oh my
into
God.
soon.
Yeah, you do.
But that's kind of, that's my main way of getting more guests, is for other people to be like, hey, this guy knows his stuff and you'd probably enjoy talking to him. So
I mean, when I was on your podcast, I was just blown away by the amount of research you did. And like, I listened to other episodes of yours, and your other guests were like, "How'd you know that?" And like,
I love
literally had
hearing
the same
that.
reaction. Yeah, it was
I
so
love
funny.
it.
Like, you literally asked me about gas station hot dogs, and I was like, "Bro, like, I swear, only my closest friends knew this. Like, it's okay that I put it on Twitter or whatever I put it on." But anyways,
That
yeah,
does bring
awesome.
me, though, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, this really applies to if you're doing interviews, but you have to respect people's time, both the listener and the person you're interviewing. And what I mean by that is, I'm not coming down on anyone in particular here, but like I do my research, and in doing that, often I will listen to other interviews that people have done, and the number of times I run into stuff where the host is like, yeah, so what do you do? Or like, what can we talk about? Or even one I remember, he was talking about his day, just like, oh yeah, then I took the bus. And it's like,
Yeah,
why
just no
is that
game
person
plan.
even here? Well, you didn't do any work.
Oh
But
my
don't
gosh.
do that,
Oh,
is what I'm saying.
Mark, your audio dropped for me. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but
Uh-oh.
it did. Shoot ski. Oh, there you are. You're back.
All right.
Cool. Rocks are doing math properly. Great. But yeah, like, just the lack of preparedness. Yeah, I understand. Like, that's where you were going, right? When
That
you
is
talked
where I'm
about-
going. I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah,
do
totally.
the
It's
work. Like,
yeah,
if you
be
want
prepared.
if you
Like,
want it to be good, you have to put some work in.
right. Like, it's your podcast. It's not going to just do itself. So, like, yeah. Anyways, well, okay. I guess that brings us into this segue. Like, the mission with your podcast. Like, I have a very clear mission with mine. What are your thoughts on that, man?
So for me, I learned pretty early in journalism. Like, I did radio for like 7 years in the newsroom, and I'm just not a good journalist in that. Like, I'm not a hard-hitting journalist. I'm bad with confrontation. So when I did this, I was like, when I very first started the podcast, I was like, I'm gonna, get to the bottom of this. Like, oh, I'm so bad at that, and I don't even care. I want to celebrate the people I think are cool. So the mission, I guess, for me is like like I said, I want to find people that I'm interested in, and other people will hopefully also find them interesting, and when we can explore their stories. And literally everybody has a story. If you are good at journalism, everybody has a story to tell.
True that.
So that's basically what I'm getting at, is I want to celebrate the people in and adjacent to gaming and geek culture and that kind of stuff. But you have a far more noble cause. Tell us about yours.
I wouldn't say it's more noble. I'd just say it's different. I think yours is noble too. It's celebrating who somebody is. And at the end of the day, we're all individuals, and we all sort of value that. And we can all, take pieces of what somebody else has been through and apply it to our lives if we choose to, and improve from there. But yeah, my mission is to be, and we make it very clear that we're not therapists or anything like that, because I mean, I have a master's in theology, not psychology. Okay, hence the name Theology Music. I'm not a trained psychologist or anything like that, but my mission is to be, again, a voice. And of course, with my DJ partner, who is so he's wise. He's so wise. I love him. We really we want to help people. We want to talk about topics that aren't discussed enough, and to just sort of push that into the ether, and hopefully help somebody out with whatever they're going through at the time. Like, the last episode that we had, it was with the Icarus Kid, excuse me. You can't forget the. He didn't drop it like Facebook did. Literally, like, we talked about musicians and their mental health struggles specifically, right? And, other episodes, we've talked about, gosh, the power of saying no, for instance. That was one. Just random, whatever kind of is going on in our lives, we come up with something around that, because Nathan and I, my podcast partner, we keep very closely in touch. And yeah, it's literally, we could be that video that somebody stumbles upon and here's this thing and it helps them. And that's what we want to do. But also to spread the gospel of VGM, because hashtag in VGM we trust. I'm really trying to spread that. You want to help me with that? Could you help me with that? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I had you on the show. Doesn't that count?
Yeah. True. Yeah. True that.
To tie it, sorry, I don't mean.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was just gonna ramble more
to kind of bring it back to the hopefully advice, useful, I hope, advice we're giving. It goes back to that whole finding your voice and experimenting and just finding where you're comfortable and what you want to do. Like, yeah, at some point in your podcasting journey, you probably should be able to answer, what am I doing here? What is my mission? Not off the hop. It could take who knows how long, because try things out. True. Do what you want to do. Exactly. Eventually, though, yeah. If you want to have a podcast that people want to hear, you should be able to have an elevator pitch, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Man. Music and mental health. I feel like another reason I went towards that direction as well is because I've never heard a DJ's podcast, and there are tons of them, where it's just a DJ mix, right? And again, not that there's anything wrong with that. Love me a good DJ mix, okay? Don't care what genre it is. I love to hear songs blended together. It's kind of my thing. But I never heard anything like, I don't know, deeper than that. And again, not trying to like diss anybody, but I was just like, man, if I could do a DJ mix and then like give people something on top of that, why wouldn't I? Right? If they don't hear these things from anybody else, then they can hear it from me. Why not? Put it out in the ether. It could stick, So I'm very passionate about it, honestly. I might seem like I'm talking nonchalantly about it, but I am very passionate about it because it's just something that's not done enough,
I think related to the mental health thing too, for myself, when I, like I said, I've been doing this weekly now for 2.5 years, and that for me was a big, like, if I say I'm going to do it, I have to do it. Like, that was my big problem the years before, is just like, maybe once a month, maybe once every 3 months, I would just put an episode, and who's sticking around to hear that? You want to, if you say you're going to do something, it's got to be there. At the same time, know your limits. I will admit, a few weeks back, there was just, finally I allowed myself, like, I don't have it in me this week. I've been super busy. I don't have a guest lined up. I'm not going to write a parody song, which is, by the way, how I get around typically. If I don't have a guest that week, I will write a parody song and record it. But just, it's totally okay for you to be like, mental health wise, I need a break here. Like, yeah. Who cares?
Right. I would say, especially in my like podcast, that would be like practicing what I preach, right?
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. But no, I'm literally doing that this very month. I normally put out an episode. I try to the last Friday of the month. But this month I couldn't because a lot of things happened in my life. I've been moving a lot. We're starting a trek to California tomorrow. I had to sell my place. Like, a lot of things happened, and I've been not. I can't do it this month. It's impossible. Can't do it. So yeah, definitely know your limits. That's a very good thing. Try to be as consistent as possible, but also be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not kind to yourself, who else is going to be, right? So, I guess I was going to be like, what kind of advice could you, what other kind of advice could you give to people other than know your limits? Because, I mean, whether that be technical advice, whether that be getting started advice, I think that's a good one.
I do have one more sound thing that I should have brought up.
Go ahead, man. Yeah,
so
totally.
Generally in the journalism world, if you can do an interview in person, on location, that's the best interview you're going to get. It's just more intimate. So occasionally I will do local interviews because we have a pretty thriving video game scene here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And the one thing I would say sound quality wise is be aware of your surroundings, because I did one not that long ago at a place in Winnipeg, very famous in Winnipeg, called The Forks, where the two rivers meet. But it's like it's a meeting ground. But there's a train that runs by, and for like 20 minutes of this interview, it's just a train braking, just.
Oh no!
And it's one of those things where, again, you're kind of in the middle of the interview and you don't want to like stop them, but you go back after and it's like, this is not salvageable. This is just ear piercing for 20 minutes. Who's gonna listen to this? So the main thing with all that sound stuff for me is like, you have to be comfortable sometimes just saying to someone like, look, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to do that again. 99 times out of 100 they're gonna go, yeah, no problem. Then that's the way it goes. Like,
right, totally. And who knows, you might get an even better second take. Who knows?
Right.
But that's a funny story. I can't believe that.
What advice would you like to end
on? My advice. Okay, so this kind of goes into when I first started DJing as well. I was in high school. I approached the prom DJ when I went to prom. Did they have prom in Canada? Just kidding.
I don't think terrible. We call it prom, but basically.
Do you? Okay, yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, we're different countries. Anyways, so I asked the DJ, I'm like, it's so cool that you do this, but like how did you get started? Like, what did you do? And literally he told me this. I was 17 years old when he told me this. He goes, I just did it. You just do it. You got to start somewhere. Literally, I think there's this in this modern day and age of social media that we live in, we often fall prey to comparison syndrome, and we see somebody else who's either further along in their journey or they are more quality. I guess, that's subjective at the end of the day, but we could perceive it as they're more quality than, what I could ever do. And so you don't even start doing it, because there's this like perception that, oh, I have to, hit that level right away. And it's like, no, you're probably not gonna, unless you like hire a bunch of professionals who know what they're doing right away, then you'll hit that level right away. But, the professionals go away. Do you still know what you're doing? So I don't know. My advice would be to just do it. Literally just do it. Start somewhere, learn. I don't know, especially in the VGM community, like we're pretty inclusive. We would help you. I would help somebody who needs advice for sure. And like my podcast isn't even like the greatest quality that there is. I feel like it's pretty cool, but obviously there could be room for improvement. We're all on a journey, but the advice would be to just do it. Just do it. Start somewhere. Don't worry about how bad you are, and I'm putting that in air quotes. Just do it. So yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned the VGM community, and like reach out to people. Like VGM totally. In particular is like so collaborative and just so kind. And again, big shout out to the people in VR chat yesterday, who was my first time ever doing that. And I literally, there was like a part of me that felt like a real party where I'm like in the corner, but like people were coming up and helping me out. It was cool. Everyone That's in this amazing. Community is super cool.
I love that. I really, really love that. That's so cool. And yeah, Nudge just said in the chat, thank you for being such positive people in this community. It was fun to see you there. You're welcome. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm glad Mark was. And thank you for this is incredible that you've put all this on. Like, I'm so impressed by everything I've seen this weekend. Literally not gaslighting you at all. Like, this is so impressive. So thank you for having us. Yeah, let's see. What else do we have, man?
I'm wondering about time. Are we over time? Are we under time?
Are we over time? Are the panels shorter? I thought did we have 50 minutes?
Oh, we have 50? We're good then.
I thought we did. Maybe I'm dumb. Hold on.
I do want to
Nudges in the chat.
I want to
She'll
leave time
tell
for
us.
questions, but that has backfired on me before. I've had a panel before where I was like, "Any questions?" Nope. And I was like, "Well, I got like 10 minutes to kill."
Okay. Oh, we have 45
so we have 5
minutes.
minutes left. Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Are there any questions? Please feel free.
Yeah. Literally, feel free. Otherwise, I can blab more. I can always do that.
Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Will be the filler podcast part 2, or a panel, I should say.
Sweet. Well, until I see a question in the chat, I'm just going to say there's a where would you like to see it go in the future? Your podcast, that is. Sorry. Nudge has one. Who is a dream person to have on your podcast?
Oh, well, Nudge K. Melbone, of course. No. I mean, yes, but...
Haven't you already had... That would be my dream guest. Yeah.
I don't know that I've really thought about that. Like, I had Darren Korb. I forgot to put Darren Korb on my list of people. He was awesome.
Totally.
That's a big deal. I don't know. I've never really thought about that, which is weird. I should think about that, shouldn't I? What about you?
Yeah.
I'll try and think.
Dude, there's so many I'd love to have. Hiroki Kakuta comes to my mind first, just because I'm remixing Secret of Mana right now. David Wise would be tight. Andrew Bayer, I would love to have him on the podcast because he's like my hero from the trance scene. And I mean, it'd be probably really hard to have him on because he's like mega famous. But I feel like he has had a lot of struggles in his life that he's made very apparent through his music, but like overcome them. And I feel like that would be a really cool conversation. Gosh, I don't know. I'm going to start having way more people from the community on my podcast. You're included in that, Mark. Honestly, whoever wants to be. Here's the deal. It's like, okay, yeah, I could have a dream guest on my podcast as far as like somebody famous, but to be honest, and this isn't just me like being fake, I promise, like just your average, everyday, normal, that sounds so condescending. Just anybody, honestly, anybody, because you said earlier, Mark, everybody has a story. Everyone does. And sorry, that didn't come out initially correctly.
No, that's
I want
okay.
it to not sound like I'm a idiot. But yeah, literally everybody has a story.
I did think of
anybody.
a few, but I'm not going to say their names because there are definitely people I've reached out to who, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm not, everybody is busy, whatever. But there's definitely some people I have reached out to who I have not had on and would love to, but I'm not going to call them out. So I will not give a name on that. But one that I have not reached out to and would love to have on, because Journey is like my all-time favorite game, is Austin Wintry. That would be pretty sweet.
Totally. And who knows? I mean, honestly, like, you never know. If you reach out to somebody, they might respond. So
yeah, truly. There are definitely people that I've been like, really? All right, great. You might think I'm a bigger deal than I am.
Honestly, the worst they can do is ghost you or say no.
Right. Which has happened many times. And what
yeah,
do they do?
right.
They go on to the next one.
And that's just how it goes. You know, people get busy. But yeah, just like literally, I don't know. Yeah, again, for me, anybody, because everybody has a story and you can learn from anybody if you try hard enough. So yeah.
Can I want to plug, because nobody listens to my songs. And the occasional, so sometimes these parody songs, I will come clean. Sometimes maybe I have a guest lined up and then it doesn't work out, and then it's Monday, which is when the episodes come out, and I'm like, I have nothing, I need something, and I'll quickly write a parody song, and it shows. Sometimes I put effort into those, and a few of them I think are pretty good. So if you go to my website, there's a section at the top, parody songs. Some of them are not great. Some of them are super good, and you should listen to them.
Are you the Weird Owl of VGM then?
I mean, no, I'm not.
Or are you just Mark?
I'm just Mark. Yeah. I'm Weird Mark.
I love that. Yeah. I love you so much. So, Nudge in the chat was like, I like reaching out to people. Remember when I was like, hey, Theology and Mark want to do a panel? And I'm only doing that because she put it in caps. I'm not making fun of how you sound. Yeah, and I'm glad you did, because
thank you so much.
Gosh.
Yes.
Nudge, I didn't even know you existed to be honest, because I'm very new to this community, and then you just randomly were like, hey, and I was like, dope. Yes, 100%. So yeah, reach out to people.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually not that scary.
That's how we met.
I mean, come on. Yeah, literally though. It is. It totally is. That's how I've met half the people in this scene. Okay, so yeah, weird meeting story. How I honestly got like connected with the whole VGM scene is because I used to be a server at a restaurant, and I used to wait on Thomas Spargo, who is on the board of VGM Con. I used to wait on him and his boyfriend. They would come in for happy hour. They would get ciders, and we added each other on Facebook because the connection was there. And then years later, after I wasn't even working there anymore, he was like, want to play at VGM Con? So you never know. I don't know. Life is kind of cool that way sometimes. But anyways, it is 10:45. That was fun, though. I'm glad the technology worked for the most part.
Yeah.
That's great.
Except for a slight echo thing, we were good.
Right. But we seem like we know what we're doing because of that, so that's great.
That's what this whole panel has been about, is pretending to know what we're doing.
Exactly. But sincerely, if you guys want to check out Mark, supergamerpodcast.com, right?
That's right. And
yes,
now I'm
great.
really embarrassed because I don't have your URL handy.
You're fine. I don't have a website for my podcast. It's just on my YouTube, youtube.com/theologyofficial. If you want to check that out, or it's on Spotify, the Music and Mental Health Podcast with Theology and DJ_FatRain. It is a mouthful, but you can find it on my YouTube.
And you should, because it's awesome music and then awesome mental health stuff.
Thank you. And your interviews are the best. So check us out if you want. Thanks for having us, VGM Together. I can't say enough about how grateful I am. So yeah, we are 1 minute over now. So I'm going to shut up. Peace and love. Thank you again.